Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by producer Daemon Hillin. How you doing today, man?
Ken, I'm great. I'm pumped actually. I have a incredible movie coming out February 4th, so I
And,
couldn't be happier.
and that's why we're here, guys. Before we get to that film, though, I do want to talk about you've been part of such films as Final Kill, Fast Vengeance, Death of Me, Apache Junction, and Ghosthouse. And Ghosthouse also stars Scout Taylor Compton, and that movie blew up huge, especially overseas. What was it like being a part of Ghosthouse? Before we get into the other reason we're here, what was it like being a part of that?
Oh, bro, I have goosebumps right now. Okay, because Ghost House is a very special movie for me. All right. It's when I really met Kevin Ragsdale and Rich Ragsdale. They're brothers. It's a producer and a director, and they're incredible human beings, and just their talent level is just so above par. They're just so amazing. Ghost House was brought to me as it was kind of disintegrating a little bit. It was falling apart, and when it was brought to me, I brought it back together. I kind of, there was financing in place, there were pieces in place, an amazing story cast, but it was, it was hard because they want to shoot in Thailand, and it's just difficult if you don't really understand Thailand. So I had at the time already made probably 10 to 12 movies in Thailand. So when it came to me, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with Rich's vision, and how Kevin wanted to put it together as a producer, and the visuals, and it was quite amazing. So Ghost House was a very hard film to make because we took like 80 people on like rafts and barges up a river, and we were shooting in the middle of nowhere, and we were like our own little support army. We had chase boats, we had and half the Thai team is staying in like tents. It was crazy. It's the like probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And we got to see some of the most amazing locations in the middle of nowhere, untouched. Nobody shot there before, and it got a little scary sometimes.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a great experience. That's one of those things where, yes, you have the finished product of the film, but at the same time, the journey of getting there and all the cool things you guys got to see and the time spent together can't replace that.
You're absolutely correct. This is why I do what I do. It's not for it's all about the journey, because there's nothing better than going through that and those late nights, and just you're with people that are united for creativity. And it's beautiful. It's just like the best feeling ever. You're going to war, but it's like a peaceful war. It's not like,
When you become family with these people, because you're with them, every hour of the day that you're filming, which is, sometimes 16-hour days, 7 days a week, you become like family at that point. So you start to care about each other. You obviously fight with each other. You argue, you laugh, you cry. So getting all that time together. And then obviously, like you said, with Rich and Kevin, you've worked with them again, which we're going to be talking about here in a second. But, it's just really a cool experience to hear you talk about the behind the scenes type of stuff that we don't get to see that much. Because especially during the pandemic, we realized how much filmmakers mean to us and how much film really means, because you're what kept a lot of us fucking insane. And you got, especially horror, you have a lot of these indie filmmakers that are going out there and they're continuing to pound the pavement, make their film, release it through streaming services so we can stay entertained, taking all the necessary precautions to keep everybody safe. So all the work you guys did still during the pandemic, I don't want to act like it's over, because we're far from over, but all the hard work you guys put in and everything you do to make sure everybody's safe, but to keep us entertained, putting your health at risk to keep us entertained. We appreciate all the hard work you guys did. And that brings me to the long night, the reason we're here. So right now it's February 3rd. You guys will be able to watch this tomorrow on Shudder. It'll also be available in theaters. And I got to do a little plug here. If you don't have Shudder yet, get on that. It's the best streaming service out there. It's hands down, bar none, my absolute favorite. You can watch this featuring Scout Taylor Compton tomorrow. So make sure you're checking that out. What was it like filming this movie with, you just talked about creativity, and this movie is full of creativity from beginning to end, whether it be the inclusion of chapters into the movie, which I absolutely love. I love the inclusion of the chapters. I love the twists and turns this movie takes you on the journey, on the way to the destination. What was it like filming The Long Night?
Wow. It's almost like the long movie, because when we started this, so many years ago, I can't even remember. This was, I think 3 years ago, we and we had a whole movie set up for Charleston, and it's not the movie that you see today. It was a different actor, it was a different director, and it was a partially different script. And then all of a sudden there's scheduling issues, and people have to go. And then I have no director and I have no actress, but I have a script and a crew. So at that moment, we as a group collectively said, Rich Ragsdale, we need Rich Ragsdale here immediately. And we have to put something together, because we had already started spending a lot of money, and we have people in hotels, and it was like one of the hardest films I ever had to make. But what you get is this great product. And so Rich Ragsdale came to the rescue, and we love him to death for it. And we knew that we needed an actress that is so talented she could learn this character, learn this role in a very short amount of time and not kill us and excel at it. And it was there's one actress in mind, and it's Scout. Like, we need Scout. We've done it before. We did it in Thailand, you know what? And it was like, let's bring the team back together and let's do this. And
I wanted to say this, because the movie does not come out until tomorrow. So this is going to be spoiler for you guys, because I feel like not only is it injustice to the cast and the crew to spoil this, it'd be injustice for you. So when I talk about scenes, I'm not going to get very specific with anything, because I want you to go into this blind, and I want you to be surprised at the outcome. But I will say that watching this movie, Scout really puts her name in the cap of wanting to be a scream queen. And I don't mean that in a derogatory or a negative way. The physicality that she goes through, even if they're singular scenes with just her, it's very Bruce Campbell Evil Deadish, the way that she is physical with herself. And it's amazing. The performance that she had in the movie is amazing. And it's full of a bunch of amazing performances. And like I said, a lot of twists and turns, but as long as you watch out for the snakes, you should be okay. So how was it that you guys, was it Rich that got a hold of Scout, or was it like, we need Scout right off the rip, we know this is the one that's going to fill this role?
Yeah. So as soon as we got on the phone with Rich to come out to Charleston, we already started talking. We're like, look, have you been talking to Scout? What's she doing? And he's like, I was just with her. And I'm like, okay, let's get on a call. Let's set this up. Let's see if she's available. And then if so, let's get her out here, because it's a daunting task what we asked, because not only like we started shooting, but we're writing as we're shooting. We changed the script from what the initial vision was to, what the end product is. And, because Rich had just these amazing creative ideas that he wanted to implement. And in order to have the product that we wanted with Rich, we needed to let him creatively flow as much as he possibly could within this little amount of time. And he just really crushed it for us.
And another thing about this movie is it really toes the line of what's a hero and what's a villain. What's right and what's wrong in the world. And it's one of those things where as you're watching, you're getting torn on, is this person doing this for this, or is this person doing that for that? And another thing I want to say is this movie's brutal. Like, it is, if you are a gore hound, this is a movie for you, but it is a love story as well. But the brutality that comes along with this movie is, and I'm not a gore hound by any stretch. I'm the Notebook where my wife is Saw, but it's done in such a way that you're not disgusted by it. It's very, I hate to say it's classy, but it is. It's not, over the top gore. Now, what was it? And a lot of practical effects. We're talking about great visuals, a lot of practical effects done. You had a great practical effect crew. You had a great practical effects in this film. Is that something you guys right off the rip were like, we don't want to overuse CGI, we want to stay practical? Or was that kind of just like nature of the beast type of thing? Like,
yeah. So this is where you have complete creative faith in an individual, and you say, how do you want to do this, Rich? Because we're at the beck and call as the producer, where we're relying on this creative force. And it was Rich being able to say, I want to blend the practical and then, the VFX CGI. He's very good at it, just like he did on, Ghosthouse. He combined both, and he takes a lot of, a lot of small detail in all of the effects. And that's why you're able to get those really creepy feelings when you see these scenes. It affects you. It really does, and it's not that like disgusting sick. It's just like, it's brutal. He has a very good vision of making something brutal. And I like how you said classy, because there's a brutal class to it. It's not, we're not shooting, torture porn here. We're shooting it was just a brutal scene.
Right. And the thing with that is, because I hate the term torture porn, but I know what you're saying. I just hate the term. But this isn't that type of torture porn. This movie really heavily relies on the story, and then the brutality is second to it. It's great. Like I said, the practical effects, a lot of the things that happen are great. They look good. And I even like a lot of the VFX of like the spacey and the in the womb type stuff. I think those all look really great. Like the visual effects in this movie are awesome, and it's not an overabundance of it. You knew when to sprinkle in what and how to sprinkle in what. But another thing I want to talk about is a lot of visions that our main character has, and it's kind of pushing you towards one way and then kind of directs you in another way. So was that part of the original script, or is that something that you and Rich kind of worked on together once everything kind of shifted? Because that was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole film, was how you kind of get 180 by a lot of the visions that you're seeing. Don't really think it's going the direction that it's going, but is that something you guys implemented after, or was that part of the original script?
Yeah, no, it's after. It's Rich and the writer that came in to, and then also Ryan Johnson too, one of my producing partners on the film. Ryan Johnson is he's like a creative and physical producer. Mm-hmm. So it was a combination really of three, Ryan Johnson, Rich, and the new writer that came in, that were really, putting it together creatively. And then I was just dealing with the war in the back, trying to keep everything, moving forward. And I was, blessed to watch it all take place. And
another thing I wanted to talk to you about, the design of the villains. Well, I love it. I love the design of your villains. Now, again, this is a thing that, and I know I sound like I'm stuttering over my words right now. That's not the case. I'm just trying to give a little without giving away too much. But there are certain scenes where these villains do things that no human being could actually do. Right. And the design of them comes into play with that as well. And then when you get the big reveal at the end, you're kind of shocked, because another scene I want to talk about real quick that'll be non-spoiler is the cell phone scene. You get a certain scene with a cell phone where the ringtone itself terrifies you.
Right.
And then you get Scout having the performance of a lifetime. How do you know my name? We go from there. And the way that she says, they knew my name when she's talking to the love interest, the whole thing is just phenomenal, man. And with the design of the villains, because after that, something major happens with the villains, but the design of the villains, is that something that was storyboarded right off the rip? Or was this something that you had with the art department? Like, hey, we need to come up with something around these type of lines.
Yeah, no, this is once again, so Rich has a very clear vision of what he wants. There's not a lot of flexibility there. He knows, and that's it's good and bad for a producer, right? Because sometimes it's like, wow, that costs a lot of money. But he knew, so like he had it sketched like he came out there and he already had this, visual for us because he draws. So he can put things together for us. And then it just blows our mind like, oh, wow. And then the first thing I think is like, oh my God, how much is that going to cost? But for the creatives, it's awesome. Right. And then of course, Rich brings in the people that he knows, these department heads, that he will really execute his vision. And then, his DP, Gigi Pierluigi, phenomenal. So the combination between his artistic views and Gigi's eyes and the costume, it's mind blowing.
Dude, and I think a big thing of that is you get with these people that you start to gel with, and you continue to do that because you're going to make the best product available when you continue to do it like that. So now I know that there's a lot of NDAs and stuff like that, but do you have anything coming up here in the future that you're going to be working on that you could talk about, or is everything kind of under wraps at this moment?
Yeah, no. Okay. So, well, I mean, I just went back to Thailand. I made a World War II film.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah. It's probably one of the best films I've made in a very long time. It's called Battle of Saipan. I had Casper Van Dien and Jeff Fahey again, which was in The Long Night. He's one of my best friends. I love him. Louis Mandylor, probably one of the best action guys I've ever seen. So we just shot that in Thailand. And then I have a film called Maneater with Trace Adkins, Nikki Whelan, and Shane West. And that we made a practical shark. We built a practical like 6 feet by like 9 feet. And we had puppeteers, and it was just ripping people up. So
you're going right to my heart right now, man. I'm one of the people that I don't hate VFX. I don't hate CGI. Right. I'm not a fan of overusage of CGI. I grew up in a video store as a kid, watching all these movies, and practical effects is something that I think is an art that is starting to get lost on. So when I see films, like The Long Night, where you can see the practical effects and you sprinkle the VFX over top of it to give it that pop, way different than an overusage of the CGI. And we're talking about projects that you have coming up in the future. Now, I always do updates on my guests, but you guys don't have to wait for updates from me because I have all of the social media links for him down here in the description as well. So make sure you're following him. And tomorrow, make sure you're checking out The Long Night featuring Scout Taylor Compton. Now, a little bit about the movie that we haven't talked about a little bit so you guys know what the story is. You have a couple that are taking a little quiet weekend together, and then a cult comes. Their maniacal leader is just insane, and there's this prophecy that's been foretold for 400 years, and now it's time to fulfill the prophecy. So tomorrow on Shudder, you can check that out. Now, one last question I have for you before I let you go, Damon, and I appreciate your time so much. We've had a couple mix-ups here, but it really means a lot to have you come on here and talk to you about this. I'm a huge, and I know a lot of the people that watch the channel are huge physical media people. Are we going to be getting a physical media release of this film in the future?
Yeah, we should be. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I would love to see some behind the scenes stuff and what went into making this, because I just had a lot of fun with this film. I was blessed to be able to see it. And after the movie was over, I contemplated watching it again for a second time because I had so much fun with it. And what I love about this movie is the villain. I can't get too much into it, but you have a villain that it's very intelligent the way this villain plays out. It takes a story that's as old as time, that has been done and done well, and it adds to that story. So this isn't a feather in the cap of a genre type of movie. This does set itself aside because it's more story based in reality than a lot of the other things. So like I said, guys, please make sure you're checking the film out. Please make sure you're following David on all his social media links right down here in the description. Don't go anywhere, my friend. I have a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.